Hello my dear students, and this word called Platyhelmins was proposed by Gegenbaur. Platyhelmins were flatworms, but these are roundworms. Here, the body cavity is not lined by the epithelium. Hello my dear students, welcome back to session 6 of this very interesting chapter called Animal Kingdom. The very word itself will tell you. We are studying about the animals, the different types of animals. So in the last session, we studied about phylum Coelenterata, then Ctenophora, then moving on to the next very important phylum called Platyhelminthes. Platyhelminthes. And this word called Platyhelminths was proposed by Gegenbaur in 1859. You know what exactly this Platyhelminths refer to? You can see this beautiful picture of a flatworm. That is, the animals are dorso-ventrally compressed, ribbon-like, flat animals. Hence the name, they are otherwise called as what? Flatworms. And these are usually referred to as worms. And they belong to a branch of science called helminthology. Helminthology. Helminths means what? Worms. Helminths means worms. The body also is vermiform. Hence they are commonly referred to as platyhelminths. So they have a dorsal and a ventral surface which is compressed. So both the dorsal surface and the ventral surface is compressed. Hence the name flatworms. So what are the very important characteristic features of this very important phylum called platyhelminths? They are aquatic, terrestrial or parasitic forms. So they exist. So they are usually aquatic or terrestrial or parasitic form. So they are either free living or parasitic form. It's a very important characteristic feature of platyhelminths. Hope you remember in my last session I said remembering the characteristic features of each phyla is very difficult. So you need to compare the characteristic features of each phyla. Like for example, you have studied in the last session about ctenophorans. Right, they are called Planarians because they have what is a very important characteristic feature there? They are also referred to as what? Comb jellies. So they have 8 comb plates which is used for locomotion. So you do the comparative study. The characteristic features should be compared from one phyla to the other phyla. So as you know, we have studied in the last session about the classification of animal kingdom, and we are studying about the invertebrate phyla, and there are 9 invertebrate phyla where we have gone through with Porifera, then Coelenterata, then Ctenophora. Moving on to the fourth very important phyla, that is Platyhelminths. As I said, they are dorso-ventrally compressed and flatworms, hence the name Platyhelminths. As I said, they belong to a very important branch of biology called helminthology. Means what? Study of helminths. That is, study of what? Worms. As I said, these flatworms are commonly referred to as what? Worms, because they are vermiform in structure. So what is the first very important characteristic feature? And who was the person who proposed this platyhelminths? It was Gegenbaur in 1859 proposed this platyhelminths. And they are aquatic, terrestrial or parasitic forms. That means they are either free living or parasitic forms. Free living or parasitic forms. Very important. Next, they exhibit organ grade of body organization. So from here you can see the organ grade of body organization. What do you mean by organ grade of? So far, like in Coelenterata you came across tissue grade of body organization. So their body is restricted to organs, but the organ system is not there. So their body is restricted to what level? Only organ grade of organization. But still you don't find definite organs like how you find in higher animals. So they are bilaterally symmetrical. What do you mean by bilaterally symmetrical? Their body, that is, the body wall is made up of 2 layers. What do you mean by bilaterally symmetrical? You can cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves in one plane or in one direction. Hence the name bilaterally symmetrical. They are symmetrical animals and they are bilaterally symmetrical. What do you mean by bilaterally symmetrical? That is, you can cut the body of an animal into two equal halves in one plane or only one direction. Very, very important characteristic feature of Platyhelmins. So what is the first very important character? They are either free living or parasitic forms. And they exhibit what? Organ grade of body organization. So there you find the organs, but you don't find the organ system grade of body organization. So their body is restricted only to organ grade of body organization, and they are bilaterally symmetrical. That means that is, you can cut the body of these animals into two equal halves in only one plane. And they are very, very important. They are triploblastic animals. Right? What do you mean by triploblastic animals? The body wall is made up of three layers. What are the three layers? Outer ectoderm, inner endoderm, and middle mesoderm. So when the body wall is made up of these three germ layers, as I said, they are called as what? Triploblastic animals. This was one very important basis for classifying the animals. This is also symmetry also was one of the very important bases, and even what? Levels of body organization. All these were the very important basis for classification of animals. Based on that, the animals are classified. Here you can see they exhibit organ grade of body organization. They are bilateral symmetrical. They are triploblastic animals, consists of outer ectoderm, inner endoderm, and middle mesoderm. And they are acoelomate animals. What do you mean by acoelomates? Absence of coelom. Without coelom, absence of coelom, right? Then digestive system is incomplete. Hope you remember when we also studied about the organ system, we studied about the two very important types, that is incomplete digestive system and complete digestive system. What do you mean by incomplete digestive system? There is only one opening, that is the mouth. So only one more opening will serve both, that is the entry of the food and the exit of the excretory waste. So there is only one opening, hence you call it as what? Digestive system is incomplete. They are hermaphrodites, that is bisexuals. Usually you come across they are bisexual, and fertilization is internal, and very important is they have a specialized cells called flame cells. They have specialized cells called flame cells, which are the organs of excretion. Organs of excretion. So let us go through one by one once again. So what are platyhelminths? They are nothing but helminths. Helminths means what? Worms. Why are they referred to as flatworms? Their body is dorsoventrally compressed. Here you can see in the picture, so the body is dorsoventrally compressed. Hence the name flatworms. Platyhelminths belongs to which branch of biology? That is helminthology. What is helminthology? Study of worms, right? As I said, platyhelminths are nothing but worms. And the phylum Platyhelminths was proposed by Gregenborn in 1859. And what are they? They are either free living or freshwater forms, and they are either free living or parasitic forms. They exhibit organ grade of body organization. They are bilaterally symmetrical. They are triploblastic animals with three germinal layers: outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm, and inner endoderm, and they are acoelomate animals, that is without coelom. And the digestive system is incomplete. What do you mean by incomplete? There is only one opening, and they are hermaphrodites or bisexual. And as I said, fertilization is internal, and they have a specialized structures called flame cells. And flame cells are the organs of excretion. This is a very common question which is asked in the examination in the PU board. That is, what are flame cells, or what is the function of flame cells? What are flame cells? Flame cells are nothing but the organs of excretion in case of flatworms. And a very, very important thing which you should understand in this phylum is, you might have come across the Planarians, right? And these Planarians have a high power of regeneration. So this is also what? A type of asexual mode of reproduction. What do you mean by regeneration? The body may be cut into 2 or 3 parts, and each part has the capacity to develop into new individual. Right, that is a very, very unique feature which you come across in Platyhelmins, that is Planarians. In Planaria, you come across the body is cut into 2 to 3 pieces, and each part or each piece will develop into a new individual. So that is what we call it as, it has high power of regeneration. Hope you have understood the very important characteristic features of the Platyhelminth, which is commonly asked in the exam. So what are the examples you are going to give? For Platyhelminths, flatworms I told, that is Planaria, tapeworm, that is Taenia solium, Taenia saginata. So we have this dog tapeworm, then pork tapeworm. But I heard about pinworm. All these are they are commonly referred to as worms. Right? All these are the classical examples for phylum Platyhelminths. So hope you have understood the very important characteristic features of these Platyhelminths. So let us move on to the next very important phylum, that is called Ascihelminths. Hope you can see this beautiful picture. They are nothing but what? Ascaris, which are commonly referred to as roundworms, and they are unsegmented worms. So these are also referred to as Ascihelminths or roundworms or Nemathihelminths. Platyhelminths were flatworms, but these are roundworms. Right? The body is cylindrical and unsegmented, hence we call them as what? Roundworms. Now let us see, usually when the Ascihelminths or roundworms, or it is also referred to as phylum Nematoda. So these are the alternate names for this phylum. So phylum, you can also call it as phylum Ascihelminths or roundworms or Nemathihelminths or Nematoda. As I said, a classical example for Ascihelminths is what? Ascaris lumbricoides. The scientific name is Ascaris lumbricoides. Common name is what? Roundworm. They are unsegmented worms. Body is long, cylindrical. Easily we can differentiate the male Ascaris from the female Ascaris, which I am going to show it in the next slide. So before we move on to the examples, let us study what are the important characteristic features of this phylum Nemathihelminths. They are also aquatic, terrestrial or parasitic form. So they are either free living forms or parasitic forms, and they also have what? Organ grade of body organization. So their body is restricted to what level? Only organ level, no organ system level, and they are also bilaterally symmetrical. That is, you can cut the body of an animal into 2 equal halves in only one plane. Then they are triploblastic animals having 3 germinal layers. That is, they are also triploblastic having 3 germinal layers. That is outer ectoderm, inner endoderm and middle mesoderm. So these are some of the very important characteristic features of Ascihelminths. Then they are pseudocoelomates. What do you mean by pseudocoelomate? That is, in which the body cavity is not surrounded by epithelium. Hope you remember coelom. Coelom is nothing but the body cavity. That is the space between the body wall and the alimentary canal. And the alimentary canal is called coelom. So you have studied in the first session what is the basis for classification of the animal. So one basis was coelom. Based on that we have 3 types. That is true coelomates or eucoelomates, then pseudocoelomates, that is acoelomates, 2 coelomates or eucoelomates, and pseudocoelomates. What do you mean by pseudocoelom? Pseudo means what? False. False coelom. Why it is called false coelom? What is the difference? Here the body cavity is not lined by the epithelium. So hence the name false coelom. And here also digestive system is incomplete with having both. So here it is complete actually. Here the digestive system is complete. Whereas in Platyhelminths it was incomplete. So complete having both mouth and anus at the opposite side. So is complete. So digestive system is complete with having both mouth and anus at the opposite ends. Whereas in Platyhelmins it was only one opening was found, right? So it was called incomplete. Then sexes are separate here. There the sexes are what they are bisexuals. So having both the male and the female reproductive structures in the same animal. Self-fertilization was quite common in Planaria. But here sexes are separate. What do you mean by sexes are separate? They are dimorphic. You can easily distinguish the male from the female. So males are smaller than the females and exhibit what? Sexual dimorphism. So how do we differentiate the male ascaris from the female? So hope you can see the beautiful picture here. So here you can see the female ascaris and here you can see the male ascaris. What is the difference? The female ascaris is longer than that is male ascaris is small and both the ends are pointed. Here you can see both the ends are tapering. Here one end of here you can see the size, it is small. Here the female is long and here you can see the one end of the body is curved, it is curved. So it is having what? Copulatory spicules which is used for reproduction. So how do we differentiate a male ascaris from a female ascaris? Here you can see the male ascaris is smaller in size compared to the female ascaris, whereas the male ascaris at one end of the body is curved and is having what? Copulatory spicule which is absent in female ascaris. So all these are the very important characteristic feature of this very important phylum called Platyhelmins. So what are the examples you are going to give for this very important phylum, that is Ascaris, Lumbricoides. Then you might have heard about Elephantiasis, that is Wucheria bancrofti. All these are some of the examples for some of the examples for Ascahelmins. Hope you have understood the two very important phylums of the animal kingdom, that is Platyhelmins and Ascahelmins. So I will be back in the coming session with some more phyla and their characteristic features. So till then, goodbye and thank you.